Regret is a weight we carry when we turn too often toward the past. It anchors us to what is already gone, words we can't unsay, choices we can't reverse, time that will not return. The Stoics remind us, the past is not where our power lives. It can guide us, but it cannot serve us if we linger there. Looking back has one purpose: to learn, not to stay. The aim is not to erase memory, but to remember without being trapped by it. Every person has wished for a second chance. We've all replayed moments, either for what we said or for our silence. We've all felt the weight of what cannot be undone. But here is where philosophy stops being abstract and starts becoming medicine. You do not have to drown in yesterday. You can rise in what remains today. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not let your thoughts on the whole of your life crush you. Do not dwell on all that has happened or may happen. Focus instead on what stands before you." He was not offering convenience. He was offering survival. To let go is not to forget. It is to free yourself to act where action is still possible. It is the discipline of moving forward, the courage to live as if what you need is still within reach, because it is. The Stoics were not untouched by pain. They knew loss, collapse, and failure, but they also knew how to stand in the ruins and still walk forward with strength. So we begin with the weight of what cannot be undone. Regret is a peculiar suffering. It grows not only from what happens to us, but from what we ourselves have caused. Harsh words spoken in anger, opportunities wasted, time lost. These leave behind shadows that feel permanent. Seneca warned us, "Why drag up sufferings that are over? Why be miserable now because you were miserable then?" The world gives no second chances, but it does give us this moment, the chance to respond with wisdom, to rise without illusion, to move without self-punishment. But the truth is this: the past cannot be reshaped. No effort can rewrite it. And yet, the Stoic sees this not as despair, but as clarity. The lesson is not to imagine what might have been, but to decide what will be from here. The Stoic does not seek to erase his failures. He seeks to use them. Sometimes the noblest act is not dramatic redemption, but quiet persistence. The choice, made again and again, to live rightly today, regardless of what was. That is how regret is disarmed. Not by rewriting the past, but by refusing to let the past write the rest of your life. The pain that once seemed unbearable, whether born from loss, shame, or missed opportunities, does not have to remain a weight that holds you down. It can become something else. Not a burden, but a teacher. Not a shadow, but a guide. What once felt paralyzing can become the ground from which you rise. Pain need not tell stories of defeat. It can shape your patience, sharpen your perspective, and deepen your resolve. It can remind you not of what slipped away, but of what still remains within your reach. Each time regret returns, treat it not as a punishment, but as a signal. A quiet flare from within, not pointing backward to suffering, but forward to choice. You are not locked into your past unless you decide to remain there. Dwelling has no virtue. Paralysis has no wisdom. What matters is direction. What matters is motion. The Stoic path is not the pursuit of a spotless life. It is the discipline of choosing rightly, even in the presence of turmoil. Every step forward, no matter how small, is proof. Proof that your mind is still your own. Proof that you are not a prisoner of what has been. Each act of courage, each inch gained, is not just progress, it is testimony. It shows that your values live in action, not theory. That your life is not defined by your lowest moment, but by your willingness to keep shaping it. Mistakes are not monuments to be stared at forever. They are markers of where you have been, not where you must remain. If you let them, they can become chisels. With each decision, with each renewed effort, you carve a stronger version of yourself. The Stoic does not deny regret. He listens to it. He learns from it, and then he turns it into clarity. The past cannot be erased, but it can be transformed into wisdom that guides the present. If you want to practice this, take a moment. Write down the 3 regrets that weigh most heavily on you. Name them clearly, without judgment. Then, beside each one, write what it taught you. What did it reveal about your values, your blind spots, your strength? What truth did it leave you with that you would not have discovered otherwise? This simple act pulls regret out of the shadows and into the light. It becomes less of a wound, more of a window. And through that window, you may see not just what was lost, but what you are still capable of becoming. If something still lingers in your mind, it means the lesson is not yet complete. It is your conscience asking you to finish a conversation you once walked away from. Instead of avoiding it, give it space. Let it speak. Let it shape you into someone wiser, steadier, more true to your values. A regret left untouched becomes a cycle. A regret understood becomes direction. It becomes a reminder of the person you no longer wish to be, and the person you still have the chance to become. So, turn regret into principle. If you regret betraying your values, let integrity become your standard. If you regret wasting time, let purpose guide your days. If you regret your silence, let courage be your voice. You cannot rewrite the past, but you can allow it to rewrite how you live from this moment forward. That is how power is reclaimed. Chapter 2. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is not a feeling. It is a choice. To move forward requires forgiving others and yourself. In Stoicism, forgiveness is not about waiting until you feel lighter. It is about releasing the grip a memory has on your mind. Because the mind is a battlefield, and regret is one of its most deceptive opponents. It dresses itself as morality, whispering that you must punish yourself before you can begin again. It convinces you that suffering equals redemption, that guilt itself is the cure. But Epictetus reminds us, it is not events that disturb us, but the judgments we attach to them. Guilt is not the event, it is your judgment of it, and judgments can be re-examined. They can be shifted, they can be let go. Forgiveness, then, is not weakness, it is strength. It is standing within the storm of memory and refusing to be carried away by it. Forgiveness does not erase the past, it simply refuses to remain its prisoner. It is the quiet boundary you draw when you say, I have carried this long enough. To forgive is not to excuse. It is to release. It is not to forget. It is to remember without chains. Forgiveness is not for your past self. It is a commitment to your present and future self. To forgive is to stop trying to fix what no longer exists. It is to say, I keep the lesson, but I set down the wound. And when the wound tries to open again, you remind yourself, healing was your decision, not a gift from circumstance. To live fully in the present instead of halfway trapped in the past, that is the Stoic's act of courage. It is rebellion against the story that your life ended at the moment of your deepest mistake or loss. True courage is not in self-punishment, but in rebuilding, step by steady step. It is always easier to collapse under the weight than to rise slowly, step by step. But sorrow, when indulged, does not build. It erodes. It delays. It keeps us circling the same ground without moving forward. The Stoic understands that attention is power. Wherever your attention rests, your life follows. To place it forward is to reclaim what the past can no longer hold. The mind will often want to wander back, sometimes dressed as responsibility, sometimes disguised as discipline. It whispers that to dwell is to be virtuous, that pain is proof of progress, that punishing yourself is the same as growth. But the Stoic knows this voice well. It is not wisdom. It is stagnation wearing the mask of morality. So, let it pass. Do not wrestle with it. Do not feed it. Simply notice it, for what it is, a trap, a habit of mind, not a truth of being. And then return your focus where it belongs. Attention, like the body, must be trained. Left untrained, it drifts toward despair. Trained with discipline, it becomes steady, clear, and strong. Strengthen it by returning again and again to the simple question, what is in my control right now? Strengthen it by stripping away assumptions, drama, and endless loops of memory. Practice presence until it becomes natural. Not because the present is always easy, but because it is always real. You are not defined by your worst moment. You are defined by your next choice. You are not the sum of your shame. You are the sum of the responses you practice, the actions you repeat, the character you build through persistence. What defines you is not what has already been done, but what you choose to do now. This is why the Stoic lives anchored in the present, because it is the only place where life can be shaped. Strength, then, is not loud or dramatic. It is the quiet decision to step forward without apology. Not to erase the past, but to integrate its lessons. That strength, steady, patient, unyielding, is still in your hands, even in your hardest hours. And it always will be. For 1 week, try this practice. Each time a memory of failure rises, pause and say gently, I forgive myself. I am not that moment. I am this one. Repeat it until your mind learns that regret is not truth, only memory. Chapter 3. The past is information, not identity. One of the greatest traps of regret is believing that what you did is who you are. The Stoic learns to separate the event from the essence. A fall is not the same as a failure of character, unless you choose to remain down. Marcus Aurelius, who knew betrayal, war, and loss, reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In the context of regret, this means one thing. Your past does not define your soul. You do. You are not the sum of a mistake. You are the person who endured it, who learned from it, who faced the weight of consequence, and chose not to collapse. The Stoic identity is not formed by perfection. It is shaped by response, by rising after the fall, by choosing clarity instead of shame, reason instead of reaction. Each scar is not just a mark of pain, it is also a marker of growth. Each lesson is a light you carry forward. Character is not revealed in a spotless record, but in the decision to keep writing when the record is stained. Not just continuing, but continuing with clearer eyes, steadier hands, and a heart no longer bound to yesterday. You are not here to echo old failures. You are here to outgrow them, to meet them with discipline, with intention, with a stronger command of yourself. Think of your past as a tactician thinks of a battlefield. The point is not to relive the fight or reopen the wound. It is to see clearly where the ambush came from, what signals were missed, and how to move forward with greater wisdom. Even your worst mistakes carry something within them. Humility, understanding, warning, clarity. The question is whether you will take the message or keep worshiping the pain. Reference the past, but don't relive it. Reflect on it, but don't retreat into it. Let it guide, but never govern. You can carry memory beside you without handing it the reins. There is always a temptation to cling to the story of who you were, to let old wounds set the ceiling for your future. But the Stoic does not build altars to the past. He builds bridges to who he is becoming. You are not defined by broken chapters. You are defined by your decision to keep writing, to create meaning out of mistakes, clarity out of confusion, strength out of suffering. Even when the hand shakes, even when the mind doubts, even when memory is loud, you still take the pen. The Stoic does not see memory as a prison. He sees it as a tool, something to sharpen wisdom, not to chain identity. Memory is not a mirror to get lost in. It is a compass meant to point you forward. It exists to prepare you, not to punish you. The Stoic treats memory as a whetstone, not a weight, something that sharpens discernment rather than collects burdens. When you revisit the past, do so the way you would return to an old journal, not to reopen the wounds, but to read the lessons written there. Memory is a garden of insights, not a graveyard of shame. Your scars are not curses. They are credentials, marks that show you've crossed difficult terrain and refuse to remain broken. Every scar is a quiet badge of survival, proof that you endured what once felt impossible. Each lesson carried forward is a promise to act more wisely, to walk more steadily, to rise with greater clarity. You are not moving through life with naive optimism, but with purpose tested by hardship. That kind of strength doesn't need to shout. It shows itself in the way you live, day after day. Move as someone who knows the next chapter will not be a repeat of the last. Not because the past is erased, but because you have risen beyond it. Not because you are flawless, but because you are fully present. Speak as someone whose strength is not imagined, but proven, etched into you by every choice to grow instead of collapse, to act instead of avoid, to learn instead of lament. Let your voice be steady, not loud. Let your conviction come not from ambition, but from integrity. Let your presence remind both yourself and others that the mind can be trained, the soul can be strengthened, and the future can be reclaimed. Define yourself in present action, not past identity. Not, I was weak, but I am resilient. Not, I failed, but I rebuild. Write these truths down. Place them where you can see them. Read them until they become armor. Chapter 4. There is no guilt in growth. It is strange how we sometimes feel guilt not only for mistakes, but even for progress. As if by improving, we betray the person we once were. As if choosing growth means turning our back on who we used to be. But growth is not betrayal. It is evolution. The Stoic does not apologize for progress, because loyalty to an outdated version of yourself is not integrity. It is stagnation. Sometimes growth means your new responsibilities demand more of your energy, leaving less space for the habits or distractions that once defined you. Sometimes it means friendships fade because your priorities have shifted. This is not failure. It is transition. The people, places, and pastimes that once sustained you may simply have been scaffolding, necessary for one stage, but not meant to stand forever. That does not make them wrong or worthless. It makes them seasonal. Growth is not just about changing. It is about knowing what you no longer need to carry. Your environment changes. Your mindset shifts. Your habits and your vision begin to mature with you. And in that change, you may notice that what once felt like comfort now feels like distraction. You're not rejecting your past. You're respecting your present. You're making space for fulfillment, not just familiarity. Growth does not erase what came before. It builds upon it with stronger foundations and clearer values. There is no guilt in outgrowing what no longer serves you. Growth is not abandonment. It is the natural flowering of your roots. Let this evolution be a quiet celebration, a living affirmation that you have taken life seriously enough to adapt. Many hold on to the past because it feels familiar, and familiarity can feel safe, even when it quietly drains us. But to the Stoic, comfort is not the goal. Clarity is. Truth is. Purpose is. If clarity requires discomfort, then discomfort must be welcomed. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." The friction of change is not something to resent. It is the very tool that sharpens you. Guilt will not build you. Discipline will. Not fleeting emotion, but repeated action aligned with deeper purpose. Not punishment, but consistent choice. The steady courage to walk forward, even with weight on your shoulders. Growth is not a rejection of who you were. It is a refinement a gift to who you are still becoming. Some people will not see this. They may hold on to your past, remembering only your worst moments, speaking of the versions of you that no longer exist. This is not always cruelty. Sometimes it is simply that they have not updated their perception. They find comfort in the version of you that made sense to them. But the Stoic does not live to satisfy memory. He does not seek to be understood by everyone, nor to be applauded in rooms he has already outgrown. He seeks integrity of his own mind. He values clarity over nostalgia, truth over comfort. So let others keep their shadows if they wish. You are not required to stand in them. You are not confined to the story they've chosen to tell. You are the author of your life, and you have every right to revise, refine, and write new chapters that reflect who you are now. You are allowed to grow in silence. You are allowed to evolve without explanation. You are allowed to outgrow the spaces and expectations that once defined you. You are allowed to rise quietly, without permission, without applause, without explanation. Transformation does not need witnesses to be real. Let your growth speak through how you live, not through how others remember you. Write a letter to your past self, not in shame, but in gratitude, not in resentment, but in reverence. Thank them for surviving, for waking up when everything felt heavy, for trying, even when failure seemed inevitable, for holding on through heartbreak, confusion, and fear, for enduring storms they never deserved, and for refusing to give up when it would have been easy to. Thank them for that last step forward, the one that brought you here. Their choices were not always perfect, but they were often the best they could make with what they knew. Their mistakes became your lessons. Their imperfections became your resilience. They laid the bricks unevenly at times, but with heart, and those bricks are the foundation you stand on now. They kept you alive long enough to become who you are. Without them, there is no you. Their pain gave your strength roots. Their struggle carved the path that carried you here. This letter is not about erasing the past. It is about honoring it, respecting it, cherishing it. So speak to them not as a judge, but as a witness to their courage. Let your words be closure and beginning at the same time. Let them hear that their effort was not wasted, because the only direction is forward. The Stoics never preached retreat. Nature itself is forward movement. To resist change is to resist life itself. The past is fixed. The future is uncertain. But the present, that is where your will lives. That is where your choices have force. Marcus Aurelius asked, "Does what has happened prevent you from acting with justice, generosity, self-control, sanity, honesty, humility, or courage?" His answer, no. Then move forward. The Stoic does not wait for the past to release him. He releases the past with a steady hand and a clear mind. He knows that dragging old pain into new days poisons the present. It turns opportunities into burdens. It blinds the eye to the beauty that is still unfolding. The weight of yesterday has no place in today's work. If you carry it too long, sorrow hardens into identity, and identity becomes a cage. Freedom is not forgetting. Freedom is choosing. Choosing to acknowledge everything that shaped you without letting it define you. Choosing to walk forward with scars, not as shame, but as proof of survival. Proof that you are still becoming. It is walking with pain, but no longer being dragged by it. Pain may remain beside you, but it no longer dictates your direction. To remember is not to relive. It is to hold the lesson without reopening the wound. Freedom is being able to look at what hurt you and say, "You shaped me, but you do not steer me. I carry your lesson, not your weight." The Stoic moves forward, not because the past was meaningless, but because the future still matters. He knows the past shaped him, yet it does not own him. Its cost has already been paid. What remains is today, the only currency of life. every choice becomes a deposit into tomorrow. To move forward is not to erase the past. It is to rise above it. It is not denial of pain, but dignity in response. It is the refusal to remain trapped in its gravity. To transcend is to look at what once broke you and decide it will now build you. It is to take the sharp edge of experience and carve strength from it. It is gathering the scattered pieces of yourself, not to return to who you were, but to assemble something wiser, steadier, more whole. This is not escape, but transformation. Not resistance, but redirection. Regret becomes resilience. Wounds become wisdom. Energy once wasted in circling old memories is reclaimed and invested in new creation. The past cannot be changed, but it can be repurposed. Every hardship carries the seed of discipline. Every disappointment, the soil for resolve. True power lies not in what has happened, but in what you choose next. You become the architect of meaning, laying each new stone higher than the ruins left behind. To stop rehearsing old battles with yourself and instead pour your strength into what can still be built, that is freedom. Quiet, steady, unshaken. Strength without noise, power without show. Commit this week to a single step forward, a step that requires motion, a step that stretches you beyond the comfort of the familiar. Not because the past didn't matter, but because the future still does. There is a goal you've delayed, not because it was unimportant, but because fear or regret convinced you that you weren't ready. Yet readiness is rarely a gift. It is built in the act itself. Choose the thing that lingers in your mind. The conversation left unsaid, the decision avoided, the habit you know must begin. Begin it now, not tomorrow, not when conditions seem perfect. Begin while your hands tremble and your doubts whisper. Begin with the resources you already carry, however small. Make the call. Open the book. Set the alarm. Take the walk. Write the sentence. Speak the truth. Action itself is release. It proves that the past no longer owns your will. It shifts your identity from one who wishes to one who does. The Stoic does not wait for the right moment. He creates clarity through motion. Even the smallest step is a declaration. I refuse to be imprisoned by hesitation. Begin now and let progress itself eclipse regret. Chapter 6. Stillness is a weapon. Stillness is not passivity. To the Stoic, it is strength refined into restraint, the ability to remain steady while the world pulls at your emotions. In a culture obsessed with noise and motion, stillness is the rarest form of power. It is not inaction, but governed energy. It is the refusal to be dragged by every impulse, every memory, every demand to react. When regret knocks, the untrained mind panics, explaining, fixing, rushing. The Stoic does not. He remembers. Peace is not in reaction, but in response. You don't need to chase down every misunderstanding. You don't need to rewrite every memory. Stillness whispers, let it go. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Stillness begins with that realization that not every emotion deserves your engagement. Sometimes the most radical act is not retaliation, but quiet detachment. This is not coldness, it is control. Not indifference, it is focus. The Stoic sharpens stillness as a soldier sharpens his blade. It becomes his edge against chaos. Where others react, he reflects. Where others collapse beneath the weight of the past, he anchors himself in the present. Not because he feels less, but because his feelings serve him. They do not rule him. To practice stillness begins simply. Observe. Notice regret as it rises. Do not fight it, do not feed it. Just notice. Breathe. Ask, does this require action or awareness? Will this move me forward or hold me back? Every pause is training. Every moment of restraint is the building of strength. Stillness is not the absence of life. It is the mastery of it. That space between impulse and response. That is your stronghold. That is where freedom begins. For 3 days, practice silence in the face of discomfort. When regret rises, when a conversation sparks anxiety, when a craving tempts you to escape the present, pause. Do not react out of habit. Do not act in haste. Breathe. Allow the discomfort to exist without suppression. Observe it fully, like a storm passing over. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? Why now? What story am I telling myself about this sensation? Write your reflections. Track how your responses shift over time. This gap, once trained, becomes your armor. Stillness is the calm in chaos, the quiet strength that keeps you rooted while the world moves around you. It allows you to think clearly, act deliberately, and live in alignment, not with impulses, but with principles. Chapter 7. Pain as proof of depth. Pain is not the enemy. To the Stoic, it is proof that you are fully engaged with life. It signals that something matters, that you are alive to your values, capable of reflection, and attentive to the weight of your choices. While many avoid pain or distract themselves from it, the Stoic approaches it with open eyes, not seeking suffering, but seeking truth. Pain points to what is real, a value compromised, an opportunity missed, a lesson ignored. It is not weakness. It is wisdom attempting to rise. Regret hurts because it reflects reality. It is your conscience guiding you, revealing the distance between what happened and what you wish had happened. In that discomfort lies truth. In remorse, a compass redirects your path. Pain is not punishment. It is preparation. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Every ounce of suffering contains potential. Every ache signals a chance to wake up, to examine, to rebuild. Regret may arrive as shadow, as whisper, as discomfort, but underneath it is insight, growth, and evolution. Pain is your quiet mentor. It shows where your standards were too low, where boundaries were overlooked, where potential was untapped. It does not demand attention. It teaches it. Listen. Learn. Let pain guide you without controlling you. Let it calibrate your conscience, sharpen your focus, and illuminate the path forward. Pain reveals what you do not want to repeat. It teaches you how to become someone who chooses with intention, who walks with eyes open and decisions sharpened. Every regret is an opportunity for awareness. The Stoic does not dramatize suffering. He does not dwell in it. He studies it with clarity and curiosity. He dissects it, names it, and examines its root. He strips away the excess and extracts meaning without carrying poison. Pain is not allowed to grow wild. It is shaped into understanding. To endure and still move forward is strength. To grieve and act with virtue is courage. To fall and rise again without bitterness is power. Pain may shake him, but it never defines him. Strength is not the absence of wounds. It is the will to move forward with them. Pain does not diminish him. It refines him. Let it be a lens. Let it clarify purpose, not as fleeting insight, but as a steady filter through which values are tested and strengthened. Let it reshape what you tolerate, what you pursue, and what you consider worth your attention. Pain, when welcomed as a teacher, strips away distractions and exposes what is essential. Let it refine your principles until what remains is strong enough to carry you forward even in weakness. Let it burn away illusions, habits, and excuses. Let it reveal where you have settled, where you have compromised, and where fear once dictated your choices. Let it illuminate your true self, your integrity, your courage, your capacity to act even when the path is unclear. Let it mark your non-negotiables, the values you will not bend in difficulty. Let it remind you that nothing of real value is built without discomfort. Allow pain to shape the contours of your resilience. Let it call you to rise, not collapse. Let it fuel your discipline and become the standard by which you measure growth. Let it build a threshold within you, where discomfort signals the start of purposeful action rather than the end of momentum. Pain narrows vision to what is essential, what is true, what must be preserved, and what must be released. It clears mental clutter and focuses attention on what truly matters. It exposes where energy has been wasted, where fear has controlled choices, and where strength has yet to be fully realized. It challenges you to focus not on loss, but on what has been learned, to ask not why it happened, but what it made possible. Life is not meant to be free of wounds. It is meant to be lived so that wounds are not wasted, so that every scar carries meaning and every story strengthens resolve. Every fall reshapes your understanding of strength. You are meant to become wise enough not to repeat the same mistakes and strong enough to recover with both grace and grit. The kind of grit that carries you through days when discipline must rise before motivation. Let pain be the chisel that deepens you, not the chain that holds you back. Allow it to carve away ego, pride, excuses, and self-pity. Let it hollow you only enough to make space for truth, purpose, and the kind of strength that does not need to shout to exist. Let it forge patience, humility, and a quiet, unwavering sense of purpose. Let pain build inner stillness that cannot be shaken by outside noise. Let it root you in reality, guide you upward, and make every recovery stronger than the last. Pain, though uninvited, can become an honest ally if you choose to learn from it. If you are willing, it can become one of your greatest teachers, not because it felt good, but because it forged something in you that nothing else could. Identify a moment where regret still lingers, a choice you didn't make, words you left unsaid, or a silence you wish you had broken. Sit with it. Do not rush past it. Feel the discomfort, not to dwell, but to extract wisdom. What is this pain showing you? What value did you compromise, ignore, or abandon? Write it down clearly and honestly. Does it reveal a lack of courage, neglected responsibility, or blurred boundaries? Then go further. Turn that insight into an actionable principle or vow. Let regret become structure, not weight. If hesitation caused the pain, your vow might be, I will speak the truth when silence serves no one. If inaction caused it, your vow might be, I will not let fear dictate my decisions. Place this vow where you will see it daily. Speak it aloud. Let the lesson lift from guilt into practice. Transform the moment that once brought sorrow into the reason you show up stronger, clearer, and braver every day. Chapter 8. You cannot lose. What you learned. Regret thrives on the illusion of total loss. It convinces you that a missed moment, a lost relationship, or a choice not taken stole something irretrievably. It suggests that some absences are pivotal enough to define your life and failure. The Stoic sees it differently. What is truly yours cannot be taken. Your character, your values, your inner strength. These are not tied to outcomes. They are forged in adversity, not erased by it. You may lose possessions, relationships, or opportunities. But if you gained wisdom, nothing essential is lost. True loss is only in what you allow to be lost. What remains, clarity, integrity, discipline, courage, forms the foundation upon which all future growth is built. Every regret, every misstep, every challenge carries a lesson. These are yours to keep, to act upon, and to let shape a life defined not by what was taken, but by what you chose to become. You have gained something more lasting than anything outside yourself: clarity, fortitude, resilience. Every mistake, when viewed through the lens of growth, becomes a lesson. The Stoics believed that virtue is portable. You can face exile like Seneca, injustice like Marcus Aurelius, betrayal, hardship, or grief. But what you internalize, courage, justice, discipline travels with you. It becomes part of your soul, part of your armor, the lens through which you see the world and shape your actions. No one can confiscate character. No tragedy can unteach what you have truly learned. This is the antidote to regret. The realization that once you stop saying, "I lost," and begin saying, "I learned," everything changes. Regret holds you hostage in a version of yourself that no longer exists. Reflection frees you. It allows you to sift through the ashes and find what is valuable. The Stoic chooses reflection. They extract the principle, store the insight, turn wounds into wisdom, missteps into milestones. They move on heavier with understanding, lighter with shame. Even in the darkest memory, there is a glimmer of clarity. Your task is to find it, name it, and carry it, not as weight, but as guidance. Because every painful moment you survived taught you something comfort never could. Let those lessons be your lanterns. Let what once broke you guide you. Let every regret be transformed into fuel for a wiser life. Chapter 9. Identity is a verb, not a fossil. Regret tries to freeze your identity in the past. It whispers, "You are what you did." The Stoic knows otherwise. Identity is not static. It is a verb. It is shaped in the present tense by your choices, your principles, your courage. Who you were does not limit who you can become. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't waste what remains of your life speculating about others. Be concerned only with your own conduct." Conduct is action. Identity is formed in action, not memory. When you act with discipline today, you are not erasing the past. You are outgrowing it. When you choose virtue now, you are not denying who you were. You are proving who you are. The Stoic does not cling to a fossilized self-image. He shapes it daily. The mind, like the body, must be exercised and developed. Let go of outdated self-concepts. Regret often returns because you keep responding as the version of yourself who made the mistake. You speak with the same hesitations, act with the same fears, and protect yourself with the same defenses. In doing so, you are not just remembering the past, you are reenacting it. But you do not need to do that anymore. You are not required to remain loyal to a former identity simply because it is familiar. You can act in alignment with who you are becoming, not who you were. You are not obliged to live within a frame that no longer fits who you are becoming. You have permission to evolve. You have permission to break your own patterns. You are allowed to become a person your past self might not recognize. This is not betrayal, it is transformation. And with that transformation comes responsibility. Not just for yourself, but for those you affect, for the example you set, for the potential that would otherwise be lost to repetition. Every moment spent living as who you used to be is a moment stolen from who you could become. The Stoic sees transformation as a daily duty. Each day is a choice. Each habit is a declaration. You are not defined by your past unless you allow it. Let regret be the signal to upgrade, not to replay. Write down the qualities you wish to embody. Then attach one small daily habit to each. Identity is not a memory. It is a practice repeated. Chapter 10. No regrets, only forward. This is the final message, not because learning ends, but because the path of forward motion begins. The Stoic life is not nostalgia. It is movement. It is not a cycle of dwelling, but a march of becoming. You may glance backward, but you do not stare. You may remember, but you do not relive. You examine without attachment, honor without reenacting. Your direction is forward, always forward. Regret has power only if you remain still. Stillness without reflection becomes stagnation. But when you act, when you begin, rebuild, rewrite, reframe, it begins to lose its grip. Regret dissolves in motion, in purpose, in the repetition of better habits. The Stoic refuses to be defined by where they have been. They define themselves by where they are going, by what they build, by how they show up now, and by the values they embody in this hour, not in yesterday's shadows. The most radical act is forward motion. In spite of memory, in spite of guilt, in spite of pain, in spite of the voices whispering that you cannot change, in spite of the fear that says you are too late, you are not fixed. You are a living mind, a deliberate will, a soul in progress. You are not here to remain as you were. You are here to unfold, to expand, to become. The flame behind you may still burn, but it is no longer your home. That fire may have scarred you, but it also sharpened your focus. The fire becomes warmth, not captivity. It is no longer what holds you back, but what fuels your next step. The road ahead may be uncertain, but it is where your power still resides. That road does not wait for perfection. It waits for presence. It waits for courage. It waits for someone willing to walk without guarantees, trusting that the act of movement itself reshapes destiny. There will never be a perfect moment. The mind that waits for perfect timing is the mind that remains stuck. So begin with this one step. Begin while afraid. Begin while unsure. Begin even while the echoes of the past still linger. Let your past be instruction, not identity. Let your scars be signals, not shackles. Let your memories be mentors, not masters. Let your regrets teach, but never rule. Let your mind be calm, your resolve steady, and your direction forward. Let your discipline be your language. Let your actions speak louder than the apologies you no longer owe. Let the consistency you've built be louder than the doubts you once carried. Let every forward step serve as proof. You are not your regrets. You are your rise. You are your next decision. You are the strength to move anyway. That strength, the sovereign step taken despite fear, is what the Stoic calls freedom. Declare a new beginning. Write down one area of your life where you choose to move forward. Not because the past is erased, but because you refuse to be ruled by it. Begin today. Begin now.